Oh my gosh, we're so close to the ending. Like, I don't want it to end. I've been actually, like, putting off playing the game just because I don't want to see the ending yet. I've really enjoyed this game so much, like, more than I ever thought I would. Like, I just went into this thinking, oh, new game to play, right? And I was just kind of blown away by a lot of it. It's been so great. But we are very close to the end, and all good things must come to an end, right? I think it's going to be an awesome ride here at the end. I've heard it's crazy. I probably won't like a lot of it. I'll probably be like, wow, this is really over the top. But, that's okay. I'm willing to see it out. I put many, many hours in this game, and I've not been disappointed. So, even if the ending is kind of whatever, I'll still enjoy it. And that would be the details and final goal of the Academy project. Influenced by Eru, Tokino revealed to them things untold to the Academy students as well as Taigi.
全てはそこへ至らんがための過程。帝の殲滅も大亀裂にスクールが作られたのも HMI を人造したのもリア王を揃えるのも
I mean, it's kind of crazy that the extermination of the Mikado was like part of this steps, right? It was part of this plan all along. Like, how does that work? I mean, were they trying to get Ruri? Like, was that part of that extermination? Like, they needed to get rid of them, so like nobody was like trying to like take back Ruri from them, right? I mean, it could be that. I'm not sure. So you got the creation of the Academy in this fissure. This thing's huge. Like, so you got the Academy, but then you have the underground layer of it, and that's massive. Like, no idea how they did that. The artificial creation of HMIs, that was very unethical. I mean, for sure. I mean, you've already killed a bunch of people. I guess why not make some artificial HMIs while you're at it? And the gathering of the King Lears, which I'm not sure if they had a way of telling who was a King Lear beforehand, rather than just waiting and seeing. Because, I mean, apparently there's 5 of them, because Narita's the 5th, right? Just a wild idea, honestly, this whole academy. She was describing the project with a hint of passion in her words. It was a project that included horrid things such as the culling of Onslaught syndrome patients and human experimentation. Yeah, she pretty much downplayed those in her comments. Faced with the fact that the teacher she respected was so involved in such research made even Mitori lose her words.
それはここまで人道に戻る行いを繰り返して目指すべき先なのですか?
I would say humanity's definitely done some things that are truly horrible in order to gain progress. I would say war is a good example. We've done some crazy things, some crazy atrocities, right? Like, if you think about nuking Japan, like, that was horrible. Like, nobody will disagree with that. But we learned a lot about nuclear technology from it. I mean, that doesn't make it okay, but I'm just saying there's always been something that we've learned through very immoral things, right?
お前ともあろうもの何を寝ぼけている。人類の歴史上いかなる発展繁栄も例外なく悲劇という道を踏破した結果だろう。
Like, as bad as it sounds, I can't really disagree with Tokino here. Like, I really can't. Like, a lot of stuff we have nowadays has become from making others suffer. Like, somebody had to suffer to have everything we have nowadays.
私は自らの非道にも死んだ者たちにも一辺の後ろめたさを抱いてはいないよ。それを感じることがあるとすれば、この歩みが残らず無駄であったと思い知らされた時だ。
And it's like, I can't really blame her for having this philosophy in life. I think in her mind she's very justified. If you look on the outside, of course this is wrong. Like, this is totally bad. And in some ways, it's kind of evil, right? Like, you're just killing people for the sake of what you call advancing humanity. So it really doesn't justify it. Though I can see why she feels that way. Like, it is wrong, but I understand why she thinks it's right. And I'm not saying there aren't good things that will come of this. Like, in her mind, she sees, okay, the outcome is going to be great. So what does it matter what happens before that? But it's like, you're killing innocent people who have their own lives and who have their own idea of the future. You're taking that away from them. And I think that's like probably one of the greatest sins you can do in life, is taking away someone's ability to have a future, right? Tokino was controlled by her love for Eru, but she was still the same Tokino Yomase. Her words were still her own.
接触実験もですか。危険と分かっているのでしょう。であればどうしてあれほど急に実践されたのです。
最後の機会だったからだ。
Yeah, I'm very curious why. I mean, obviously for story purposes, like, this is cool and it makes sense that they would just, like, release her early and let's see what happens, but I wonder what the idea behind that was. Like, what story-wise provoked them to do this way earlier, because I feel like they've only done this once before in the story and it was much later, after a lot of stuff happened. It was the final chance. Wonder if they'll explain that to me. She finally displayed some negative emotion and looked like bitterness.
きっかけは成田真理だ。奴は帰国直後、花園武と桂木新山を殺害した。帝事件の関係者が相次いで死んだため、システムはスクールに査察を入れた。表向きの話だ。実際は理事長の罷免であり、計画の無期凍結だった。引きこもりの灰色にとって理事長は何よりもあの黄金の眠り姫は都合の悪い存在だった。
定番の派閥争いですね。人間はいつでもどこでもやることが変わりなくて笑ってしまいます。
I guess we could just chalk up everything to the academy. Like, if anything changed in the story, it probably had something to do with the academy moving. And they have so many different factions within the... Wait, did I say the academy? Sorry, I meant the system. So the system has so many different factions. Thank you to all of those who have explained that to me and gave me some better perspectives on it. But it sounds like the system just kind of has so many different factions to it, even though it's supposed to be... You know, if I thought of a system, I'd think it all works together, right? But I feel like in some ways it doesn't. And it's very divided. So, like, there's a lot of different opinions on what should be done to move humanity forward. So it could just be the system doing its thing, cause the story to change.
残機の多縁。委員会はリア王1の永久封印を命じた。唯一のジャービルなくしては実験そのものが成り立たない。その前に結果を出す必要があった。
Okay, so yeah, they're kind of explaining it right now. So they needed to do something quick.
それが週末の足音が聞こえるこの現状ですか。
The hopeless situation made Mitori put on an exasperated face. In response, Tokino shrugged.
確かにな。科学者としては垂涎だが、人間としては滑稽の極み。笑っても構わないぞ。
It's very weird hearing her say the word slobber. Seems like a very, like, I don't know, just a very uncivilized thing to do. But she's talking about how it just makes her overwhelmingly excited. Mitori looked at the monitors and found a real-time camera feed of Okushima. There she saw people living their normal lives, completely clueless about the impending doom. Even if she couldn't see them in the feed, there were no doubt many lives and interactions that were wholesome and precious.
笑う余裕もありませんわ。昨日を悔いるよりも明日への道を探求するよりも私は今日を守らねばなりません。
お前個人には悪い話ばかりではなかったがな。兜山みとりは正常な HMI としての安定を取り戻した。どの程度維持できるかはわからないが、おそらく接触実験の影響だろう。
You know, I was gonna ask about that. I was gonna wonder why Mitori is still alive, why she didn't end up going to the Onslaught Syndrome. So I'm glad they explained that. I just felt like maybe they had already explained that and I just couldn't remember since it's been a few days since I played. But I'm glad they're, like, touching on that so I don't feel so dumb.
お礼を申し上げる気分にはなれませんけれど。
Yeah, I mean, she did live, but you know.
さまつはさておき、問題は成田真理。彼はいずれ必ずスクールへ戻る。ここに時の先生がおられる以上、像を刻んだ己の志を途中で投げ出したりはしない。
道理だな。帝春水の報復は非合理的な愚行だ。しかし、 人間としては理解も同意もできる。憎悪、怨恨、報復、人類が業を克服するのは彼方の夢か。
人事のように彼をそうしたのは他ならぬ先生でしょう。ご自分の罪を恐れないのですか？
Yeah, it does seem like Tokino doesn't really want to take responsibility for making him that way. I mean, she's kind of already said, like, hey, I don't really care, you know? Whatever happens on the way to the goal doesn't really matter to me.
罪も罰も人の作り出した概念だよ。見えないものを信じるのは人間の豊かさだが、無駄な機能でもある。
Mitori loudly closes her fan as if to say that she's heard enough. In her eyes, there was an unbreakable will.
成田真理は我々が倒します。理由はどうあれ、彼には罪がある。先生とスクールに災いをもたらす以上、看過できません。
Oh boy, I don't know if that's the right call, but
守ってくれるとはな。お前は私たちのスクールの研究の非道を非難したのでは？
Mitori's just like, well, dang, you guys have already gotten this far. Might as well follow it through to the end, right?
その犠牲なくしてこの場所が実現しなかったのも事実なのでしょう。
You know, I've argued this before, and I've had people disagree with me, but I think, like, the attachment that some of the girls have to the academy is a little ridiculous. It's like, okay, you acknowledge that there's problems with it, but you still want to protect it. Like, do you not think that Ruri, who's this, like, unkillable god, is going to not just destroy all of this if you don't, like, do something about it? Like, does that not occur? I don't know. Maybe... I don't know. They're just so insistent on protecting the academy at any cost. And I'm just like, there's other schools out there, guys. You don't have to just go to this one. This one's great, but you can still hang out, you know, and be friends. You can make your own school. I mean, you guys are nobles, right? You guys are like the top tier people. Make your own school. You don't have to use the academy. The academy is not that great.
理事長や時の先生はこの時代、この現代ではまだ行き場を持たない私ども HMI に救済を与えてくれました。
Which is fine that you love the academy, you like that it's a place for HMIs, and that's great. Like, there is positives to the academy. I'm not saying it's all bad. But don't pretend that Tokino, like Kurofune, and anybody else who helped build the academy is some kind of god. Like, this isn't your paradise, okay? It seems like your paradise, and you glorify it like it's your paradise, but it's not. There's way more going on here.
屍の上に立つ伽藍なら、汚れを恐れて投げ捨ててしまえば、それこそ全てに意味がなくなってしまう。そんなことはきっと彼女も喜ばない。死んだ者たちの憎悪も恨みも踏みにじって、我々は差し伸べられた手を感受しましょう。その上で誤りは正し、より良き道を探しましょう。
I mean, I don't...
千の怨恨と悲憤を招くとしても。
I understand where she's coming from, and in some level I do agree. Like, okay, if the damage is already done, you might as well take advantage of the fact that you have this great academy. You have all these nice resources, but I just don't know if I could feel comfortable supporting the academy after you find out all the stuff about them. I just don't know if I could trust them to do the right thing in the future, right? If they didn't do the right thing in the past.
リア王1もおそらく帰ってくるだろう。
先生を恨んでいるからですか？
そんな可愛げがあるかはともかく、リア王1が知っている世界は灰になった故郷と地下施設だけだ。行くあてのない人生の始まりに私を一発殴っておこうぐらいは思うはずさ。
I mean, I think she could do more than punch you, or at the very least her punch would, like, obliterate you into smithereens.
回収の機会があるとすれば。
残念ながら先生の実験はここまで。帝瑠璃は存在自体が我々を脅かす。殺せないならば封じるしかない。二度と何者も手を出せないところへ。
This is some pretty bold words. Obviously, Mitori, you wouldn't know, but during Saku's route, she was literally an unkillable god. And Saku was literally the only one who could do anything against her, and even then, it was very close.
リア王1がいなければあらゆる研究が頓挫する。HMI であるお前が未来を積むのか。
Oh my gosh, Tokino, you of all people should know this. Kurofune said it all the time. HMIs are possibilities. There's always a possibility that, you know, some HMIs are going to be bad and go crazy. And then some are going to be really good and going to help humanity move forward, like in a way that doesn't have to kill a bunch of people.
未来を守るのです。兜山の血が今の私に継がれているように、過去から受け継いできたものを次の奏者に手渡すまで守り抜くのが新しいものの務め。それが帝瑠璃にとっての地獄であろうと、兜山みとりは彼女の死となり災いとなりますわ。
Yeah, I will say I do feel bad for Ruri in the sense that it just seems very hopeless to try to help her become a better person. So, like, really the only option is to kill her. I mean, she's just going to not stop until everybody dies, right? She knew what King Lear 1 was capable of. Despite being more than fully aware that Ruri was a monster above all, Mitori Kabutoyama would put her pride and life on the line to face her. This was the only path she could choose.
空子との超高レベル HMI 同士の闘争という極限状況を超えて膝橋を登ったお前のハロー。マクスウェルの悪魔の情報量は策にも匹敵するだろう。しかしお前では万に一つもない。リア王ではない以上。
It's almost like everybody is supposed to be working together here to defeat a common enemy.
どういう意味ですの？リア王は力の種別ではなく、ハローの枠を超えた最高の力に冠される名なのでしょう。でしたら私も。
それならどうして最高のハローをリア王と呼ぶのか。
それはシェイクスピア最大の悲劇の名が最高のハローにはいえ、ふさわしくない。
Mitori began feeling as if she noticed something obvious. Tokino looked at her like she was a student and forgot to write her name on an exam paper.
7年前、理事長と私がリア王1を捕らえられたのはまだ幼く弱かったからだ。今となってはあれを打ち破る可能性は同じリア王。現存するのはあと一つのみ。
方法を考えるまでです。人間らしく。
Ah, Mitori. You don't even realize it, but Tokino is humbling you right now. She's like, yeah, no. There's only one person who can stand up to her, and he's kind of the main protagonist of the game. It makes sense that only Narita, in the end, would be able to stop his sister.
そんなものが存在すると？
高崎さん、一つ無茶なお願いがあるのですけれど。
待て、策に干渉させるつもりか？昏睡の原因もまだ。
Yeah, where is Saku? Like, what the
原
heck?
因は分かっております。ですから。
嫌です。
The unexpected response made Mitori doubt her ears.
策が目覚めない原因は心理的な拒絶です。策が望んでいないなら、このままが一番いいはずです。
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you expected. If it's not in Saku's best interest, Era's not gonna do it.
高崎さん、でもそれは。
週末がどうかしたんですか？自分は人形です。心なんてない。主の持ち物でしかない。死ぬのなんて怖くない。生きていたいとも思わない。
You know, Arrow, that last part of your sentence, I don't think a lot of people want to live. I have a lot of friends who joke about not wanting to be alive, and the sad part is I think it's true. I mean, I think they would change their mind on that if their lives are just a lot better in general, but...
策は目覚めたがっていません。苦しい現実しかないここへ戻りたくないと言っているんです。
Well, Saku needs to wake up because she's the insignia of the academy, okay? She's supposed to be the face of it. She can't be sleeping like Sleeping Beauty over here.
それならエルに守る理由はない。明日が終わろうが1秒先に滅んでしまおうが エルはサクを苦しめたくありません。苦しんでほしくありません。だからミトリの頼みは聞けません。
Well, I hate to tell you, Saku's gonna suffer either way if all of her friends die and the academy is destroyed. So, we all know she doesn't want that.
それはあなたの本心ですか？
違うに決まってるじゃないですか。人形に心なんてあるわけないんだから。
Yeah, Arrow, we all know you have emotions, though. You've grown, like, through so many different experiences, and obviously, like, those were on different routes. But I'm gonna pretend they still linger, okay?
まったく人形に心がないなんてざれ言は一体誰が言い始めたんでしょうね。
Mitori made a sad and nostalgic smile, like she just opened up a photo album showing her when she was little.
大切にしてあげた人形は家族の一員になると言います。空っぽの人形にだって家庭を経れば魂が宿るのです。そして魂のあるものは心を持つ。高崎さん、あなたは苦しめたくないと言った。苦しんでほしくないから目を覚まさせないと。おとなしさんが幸福であれと願うのは彼女が好きだからではないのですか？
To wish bliss upon what one treasures was a primal prayer carried by everyone.
高崎エル、あなたは最初確かに人形だった。記憶も経験も感情も魂もろくに持たない空っぽの器としてスクールへやってきたのでしょう。でもここで過ごした日々が、その記憶は空っぽの体を埋める血となり肉となっている。
Mitori is reminding me a lot of Narita right now, being very motivational.
それはあなたにとって不要なものですか？
わかりません。エルの世界はここです。本当にここだけです。高崎の里では本当に何もなかった。そんなちっぽけな記憶が本物の心のはずがないでしょ。
私たちがなすべきをなさぬのなら、スクールはあなたの小さな思い出のありかも失われてしまうかもしれない。
Exactly.
で
What I
も
was saying.
そうしたらサクが。
あなたはとても綺麗です。人が人形を作るのは美しいからかもしれない。人と同じ形で人にあるいびつさも不自由さもない。人を狂わせる嘆きも迷いも憎しみも妬みも私は成田真理を恨みます。彼の怒りと憎悪がどれほど正当であろうと、この感情がどれだけ不毛と分かっていても、故郷を壊した彼を許すことはできない。
I mean, to be fair, he hasn't destroyed your home yet. I mean, if you're talking about the academy, that is. I have no idea about your actual place of birth or your hometown. And then I feel like it's very two-sided to say, well, Narita might be justified, but I can't allow him to do his thing. But I'll allow the academy to do it, even though I realize they're not justified at all in doing what they're doing.
我ながらなんたる醜さ。先生がおっしゃった通り、人の子、まるで底なしの黒い海のような。けれど私も親友から痛いほど教えられました。誰かを思う心には本当に眩しいくらいの力があるのだと。
エルにはわかりません。
いつかわかる時が来ますよ。あなたの空にもきっと輝く虹が見出せます。
Saying that like a prayer, Mitori turned around.
どこへ行くのですか？
あなたがこの後どうされるかはお任せします。明日にも何もかも消えてしまうかもしれない。最後くらいは自分の望むがまま、思うがまま、好きなことをしてはいかが？私もそういたしますから。
好きなようになんて何もないのにできるわけないじゃないですか。
Dang, we're getting the character development for everybody in this one. I like it. The sound of her call was drowned out by the compartment doors shutting behind Mitori. That's fighting music. 50 hours have passed since the unusual earthquake in Ogushima. It was late at night, right after the date change. The heliport at the MSDF base and T Prefecture was in a strange state. 3 helicopters idling there were all unmarked. Ghosts, as they were called. They had 22 people in 2 squads. Besides that, there were pilots and 2 guests, making up a total of 30 people. No one there was JSDF, and the guests were myself and Tamao, both walking on the runway to board one of the helicopters.
一触即発ならぬ一触蒸発となりかねないこの状況で導入されるのがアーミーではなくポリスとはいささか驚いているよ。
この国の流儀ってのがあるんだよ。お前みたいなヤバいとこから来た変態のドンパチノと一緒にするな。施設がないから開示に間借りする羽目になってるけど。
Yesterday, Arya Bahata Sakar provided us with info into Mao's client's response to what that would be in this raid. These elites would break into the academy, capture Tokino Yomase and stop the experiment, and we would take part in it.
さっと。この国で唯一公式に実戦を経験している怖いおっさんども。お前や俺みたいな野良犬と一緒にしたら悪いぜ。
Gosh. So we're working with the military police, huh? Well, I think it is just the police. They're saying the military didn't get involved. As we passed a row of troops, Tamao timidly and awkwardly saluted them. They responded with a perfect salute befitting elites, making Tamao's face stiffen up.
全然ビビってないからな。ちょっと驚いただけだから。
Oh yeah, Tamao being scared? No way.
よくわかっているとも。今度は私から一つ聞きたい。どうして私との決着ではなくこんな手段を選んだのかね。わざわざ依頼人を説得して。
説得ってのは違うな。こいつは損得さ。システムなんて商売敵に任せずに自分たちで抑えてしまえば得るところがある。それだけの話。俺はそいつに乗っかって自分の安全を買っただけだ。お前と本気でやり合うとどっちにしてもろくな結果になりそうもねえからな。俺が勝つのは確定としても。
Oh, Tamao, if only you knew how many times we've beaten you.
お前こそよくも一緒に来いって話にひょこひょことついてきたもんだぜ。絶対一人でどっか行くと。
I mean, does Narita seem like the kind of person to run away from a fight?
いついかなる時も借りは返すのが私の心情なのだよ。君は私との戦いを取り下げた。それがどんな理由である。
I had to return this favor. It was my etiquette to stay by her side at least until we arrived.
飼い犬だってたまにはやんちゃしたくなるのさ。
待ちたまえ、玉尾。
I called out to her as she, with clarity in her face, kicked the ramp and prepared to board the chopper.
なんだよ。まだなんか。
Oh my gosh. Narita, I thought you knew better than this. I silently approached her from behind and grasped her not-so-sizable breast. I moved my hands with heated passion and joy in my heart.
君への絶えざる感謝と昨日の誹謗への抗議を込め、豊満への遠い道のこの2日の歩みを私は天地に隠れもなく確かめよう。大いなる衝動のまま、かの哲学者も曰く、だ。
まずお前から死ね
I agree, Tamao. Just kill him right here and now. That will be the ending of the game. You know, I'll accept it. Died after grabbing a woman's breast. She attacked me with a fist from above, but I, of course, evaded it. Ah, this game. Ah, not this stupid helicopter again. The 3 choppers seamlessly flew towards the deep, dense darkness hiding the Academy's school building, a modern structure that truly stood out in this otherwise untamed land.
待て、あれを見ろ。
Tamao's beast-like instinct, or perhaps perception honed by the many battles she's been in, gave her some sort of warning, and she bent ahead at the pilot's seat and pointed ahead at a school building. Suddenly there was an explosion. With a blast, the entire second floor was shrouded in fire. With an intense, unfiltered roar, the place was instantly drowned in flame.
突然爆発したが、あれを見せたかったのかね。
なんで爆発？スクールで一体何が起こって？じゃなくて、見ろって言ったのはその隣の校舎だ。
She pointed at a window of the main school building. There you could see Eru Takazaki standing there like a silver trap for any beast.
簡単に近づけると思わないでください。入園料は高いです。
Oh boy. Just everybody fighting everybody, I guess.
あとは任せるとか言われましても、言うは安し、アクションは激おこと申します。常に完璧な仕事がモットーのメイドの水面の下のあがきも考えやがれ。
I know, Hishia. He should think about you more. Hishia whined about her work conditions. She was currently in one of those safe houses that she had secured in town. It was an abandoned house near Miyama, and it was as ruined outside as it was inside. The church they used to use as a hideout was destroyed by a sibling fight. Yeah, you could put it that way. And the attention drawn to it forced them to abandon it. While this place was not nearly as comfortable, it was away from prying eyes. Through Tamao, they established a cooperative relationship with the Japanese police, but Narita and Hishia both had engaged in illegal acts. Hishia's job was to secure an escape route and...
あっちゃ、成田様たちがアイキャンフライする前に、こちらの出発も間に合いそうです。
To do her other job, she fixed her posture and looked at the corner of the room before letting out a sigh.
また食事に手をつけられなかったのですね。人参を食べないと何が大きくなりませんよ。
In the corner of the room, there was Ruri sitting in a fetal position. If she was any paler and wasn't breathing, you could mistake her for a real corpse. The heat of her body and mind seemed to be completely lost. Okay, good. We're actually finding out what happened to her. I was curious about that as well. There's a lot of stuff that I feel like they just kind of didn't explain very well yet, so I'm glad they're going back to that. After Ruri lost to Narita and Taigi collapsed, Hishia's master, for reasons unknown, had let the girl live. She'd been like this ever since. She wasn't speaking, moving, or standing. She didn't even show any resistance when getting carried here.
邪魔にならないのは結構ですが、若い娘がゴロゴロと一日寝ているだけとは。ヒシアは呆れて言葉もありません。猫の方が癒しになる分、役に立つというものです。
The Ruri from before would be wary of the system or government agents coming to retrieve her. But as she was now, she was no different from baggage.
すがすがしいほど見事なルーザーっぷり。そんなにお兄様に敗北されたのがショックだったとは。これだから、人生経験のない箱入りおぼこは。
I mean, Ruri's pretty evil, and she probably is going to kill a lot of people, which she already probably has. But do we need to call her a virgin? Like, that's not her fault, okay? And being a virgin isn't necessarily a bad thing, okay? You know, you should really just wait till the right time. Despite Ruri's non-reactiveness, Hishia gave her a perfect matey gesture before picking up the untouched food tray.
そんなですと、大義様に笑われてしまいますよ。
She was wary of it and even expected it. However, Ruri became hostile and moved so quickly that Hishia couldn't even turn around. The corpse-like girl grabbed Hishia by the neck and pushed her against the wall at immense speed. The impact that made Hishia feel like she was buried in the wall briefly made it impossible for her to breathe.
なるほど。お薬はこれでしたか。ヒシアとしたことがこんなに乙女とは思わず見落としていました。
あれの残りはどうしたの？
Angelic crystalline eyes burning like wisps in the night. Does she actually care about Taigi? That's surprising. They had a magic to them, different than the one from when she attacked the church. It seemed like it was breaking through a dark veil of sediment. She was akin to a fallen angel reaching from the depths of hell.
怪物であるルリ様がそんなことをお尋ねになってどうされると。
理由、そんなの。あいつは私を 帝瑠璃を犯した。怪我した。
She suddenly realized that she didn't know what to say beyond that.
だから私は一体どうしようと。
The moment the maid mentioned Taigi, her consciousness began boiling, and she lost herself to the rage driving her to tear her apart, or so it seemed. However, upon some introspection, she realized that her feelings were as light as feathers.
胸が痛い。
バカなこと。痛みなんて私にはない。リア王ワンはあらゆるものを凌駕する。性能を低下する苦痛は淘汰される。動作を阻害する苦悩は排除される。機能として傷つくことなんてありえないし、そんなものがなくても私は成長する。
バカみたいな話です。そんなだから何がご自分を苦しめているのかわからないのですね。
Dang, so they're actually trying to make Ruri a little bit human here, by saying that she's probably in love.
メイドの分際で身の程をわきまえなさい。私は帝瑠璃なのよ。新たな頂、人類の最先端。誰よりも強い。
Yeah, yeah,
強い
okay.
と言っても成田様に負けちゃいましたけどね。だんだん首が締まってまいりました。視界が黒い。とっても。
Ruri is just like this super powerful being, and then there's Hishia just making jokes about it as she's possibly dying.
余計なことしか言わない口のついてる首はいっそ取ってしまおうかしら。
それはそれで構いませんが、よろしければしばらくのご容赦を。今夜は成田様を迎えに行かねばなりませんので。
この後に及んでお兄様に尽くすか、はしため。
I mean, yeah, that's kind of what a maid is. They are a servant in a way, right? The fact that Hishia couldn't live without clinging to someone filled Ruri with disgust. You know, I think you kind of have the same problem, Ruri. I think you kind of like Taigi and like having him around.
それがヒシアの自由ですから。
どこが自由なの？お兄様の持ち物の分際で。
自由とは自分で決めたルールに従うことです。それだけは裏切らずに生きていくことです。ま、私の場合は他に選びようがなかったんですけどね。
She could have had her head removed at Ruri's whim, but yet Hishia seemed to be at peace.
おかしな女だわ。私を恐れないのね。脅威と思っているくせに恐怖と思っていない。
何も持たない私を救ってくれたのは成田様です。あの人が好きに生きていいと言ってくれた時、私は誰かの道具である以外の生き方を思いつかなかった。だってそうでない生き方なんてとうになくしていたんですから。快楽のために同類を殺す動物は実はたくさんいるんです。イルカもカワウソも犬猫も弱者を踏みにじるのに協力する。生命とはそのようにできている。でも同類の不幸を当人するのは人間だけです。他者のあがき破滅へ至る過程を社会を守る必要悪ではなく娯楽として消費できる。悪のための悪をなせる。
That is true. You don't necessarily see a lot of animals like destroying others of their own kind, unless like they get in the way of like their food or something, right? Like they don't just go around killing others of their own just to kill them. It's like only humans do that.
そこのない人間の悪に比べればあなたは強いだけです。なんて可愛らしい。
Ruri put power into her fingers. She could break humans like twigs. However, Hishia's head was still on her shoulders.
私と姉妹はそんなものに作られました。どこかから買われてきて誰かの快楽のために教えられたのは殺し方、 壊し方、奪い方、人間であった頃の中身なんて残らず押しつぶされて消えてしまった。私はなく9つの中の1でしかないものですが、一つだけ私のものがあります。菱や森という名は成田様からいただきました。何もかも奪われて何の意味もない復讐だけを支えに生きようとしていたあの人が、今も私は生きる意味も理由もわからない。でもこの何もないところで成田様はそれでも誰かを思う心があることを証明してくれました。それで十分。
Honestly, like, Hishia's love for Narita is like crazy. It's like she respects him like so much and like is willing to follow him, and like she says, you know, it's my will to follow him. I'm not doing it necessarily for him, I'm doing it for me, first and foremost. But I chose to follow him. He didn't choose necessarily her to do so. You know, he did invite her, and then she's the one who made that decision herself. It's what she wanted.
私はそれだけで歩いていけます。この命は全部成田様のために使おうと決めたのです。あ、やっぱり訂正します。瑠璃様は似ているけど別物ですね。空っぽの私は一つで満たされた。瑠璃様は何もかも最初から持っていたから、ずっと空っぽのままなのを知らなかった。
That's an interesting thought. Rooney had everything from the start. In her eyes, I feel like she thinks she had nothing from the start. She thinks that she's grown all this power by herself.
お兄様と同じで口の減らない。
Well, that's what happens when you hang around a person a lot.
それは私のためですか？
何を言って。
There was a droplet on her cheek. She touched it and felt searing heat. Why was she crying? Her halo had recovered from Narita's influence and was now working properly. Any new pain should have been surpassed right away, and yet...
大切な痛みは消してしまいたくはないですよね。
何を言っているの。
Rory had finally realized what was wrong with her. Taigi's final moments reminded her of her mother, the woman that had sacrificed herself despite having lost it all.
いえ、どんな痛みも乗り越えてしまえるのに、そうしないのは自分でそうしたくないと思っているのではないのかと。
Well, I mean, pain,
どうでもいいお話でした。
I feel like pain's just a part of being human. It's kind of what gives us compassion for others. I mean, if we didn't feel pain, if we didn't feel sympathy, it's like we would just be going around killing people that inconvenienced us in the smallest way. We wouldn't be able to understand each other at all.
羨ましいです、瑠璃様。私は武器ですから、そう作られてしまった以上、最後までそう。でも瑠璃様はどんな道でも選べるのでしょう。そうそう、お尋ねの件、大義様は知り合いの仲介屋に預かってもらっています。最悪誰も戻ってこなくても万事うまくしてくれる手はずです。
Still holding Hishia, Rory tilted her head as though daydreaming.
それならお兄様はどこへ。
スクールです。夜店時野と合いびきに。
じゃあそこへ連れて行って。私は帝瑠璃、人類の最先端。
She wasn't hesitating. Back then, Rory herself had decided to fly. No matter where it took her, she would fly until the end. She tightened her grip over Hishia's neck. It was obvious that what would happen if she refused.
ご自分で走って行かれた方が早いのでは。スクールの場所はご存知でしょう。
I mean, I'm pretty sure Rory can actually fly, but okay.
覚えてない。何よ。文句がある。
What's with this little arc here? Why is Rory, like, acting like a human being now? It's really throwing me off.
教会に殴り込んできた時はどうやって
Which, I mean, I'm fine with it. Like, what really, like, pissed me off about Ruri's character when they introduced her is that she seemed like this, I don't know, just like such a different villain than I'm used to. A lot of villains, like, end up having some kind of redemption arc, you know, at some point, and they do have, like, some kind of heart. Like, they do have something that makes them human in a way. And Ruri just seemed like this monster who didn't care about anything in the world at all and just wanted to kill things. And it's like you couldn't talk to her, you couldn't reason with her. You just wanted to see people suffer. And now this is weird to me that she seems like she does care about a few things. Like she does care about Taigi and things like that. Really different, which I'm fine with. I mean, this is what I wanted originally from her character. I wanted her to have some kind of change of heart so we didn't have to kill her. And then Narita could have his, like, happy end, right? With his sister. Like, this is everything he wanted. And so that's where I hope it's going, but I have no idea. Like, maybe she's still going to be evil. We're still going to fight her, and, you know, it'll turn out like Saku's route. I have no idea. But this is good. I'm excited to see this change in development. I'm curious where this is going to go.
適当に歩いて気配の大きそうなところへ順番に押し入っただけだし。
まさかこんな場面でハードシーンの裏のどうでもいい驚愕の事実を聞かされる羽目になるとはかなり最悪です。
It's kind of funny for someone who's like so powerful, you didn't even know like where to look.
だいたい道を覚えるのなんて私の仕事じゃないんだから。はしためや雑式の仕事なんだから。
I mean, you could at least remember the way. I mean, you've kind of been sheltered for tons of years. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like she kind of acted like vicariously through other people. You know, the old HMIs that she had controlled. I wonder if she couldn't just like explore the outside world that way. I have no idea.
人の話を聞かない兄と最初から話すつもりのない妹。嫌というほど呪われた血のつながりを感じさせる私様発言をいただきました。
Hishi, I love you so much. I love how she's just roasting the family. Just the Mikados, you know. I feel bad saying roasted because, you know, all the Mikados got burned. I just realized what I said. I'm like, oh, that's kind of morbid. And so Ruri Mikado put on the angelic smile she wore the moment they met and silently declared the start of hell.
返事を聞かせなさい。石や森。
Like, I am right to assume that Ruri is having a change of heart right now. Like, she is becoming a better person. Like, that is what that whole scene was, right? Like, please don't play with my feelings here. Like, did I completely read that wrong? I have no idea. But it sounded to me like she's going to essentially help us do the right thing. Which is probably stopping Tokino right now from doing whatever the heck she's doing with the owl or whatever. I'm still a little confused by the plot line, I'm going to be honest with you guys. But hopefully as we continue on here, I'm going to see some more of that. Feeling like she was called, she woke up. The Saku? The moment she regained consciousness, she found herself in a familiar place. It was a room completely devoid of light. Neither the normal nor the emergency lights were on. The only reason she knew that she was in the academy, probably the infirmary, was the moonlight leaking in through the open curtains.
私はあれからどうして。
Yep, that's our girl Saku. Having just woken up, she was still barely conscious. The last thing she remembered was the moment she'd lost against Narita back at the plant. She got up from the bed and her bones began creaking as though she'd been out for days. The silence of the seemingly empty school building made her restless, so she quickly changed into the uniform placed on the side of the bed and jumped into her shoes on the floor. The door wasn't powered, so to leave the room she had to use the emergency lever. The empty school building made her feel like she was in a desert at night. There were no lights coming from any of the buildings she could see through the windows. This wasn't right. Even if all of Okushima had a power cut, the academy had an underground power facility that would keep it powered. Looking up, she saw a full moon and something, likely a bird, flying in front of it.
何かあったのなら行かないと。
I like how she says likely a bird, like almost like it could be Superman or for all we know. It could be a plane, a bird, a plane, Superman, you know? Who knows? But it's likely a bird. But I'm not sure. Coming back to her senses, she hurried outside. After all, she was the Crown's. At the edge of the school building, akin to a deserted wasteland, she staggered and looked at the hands she was using to support against the wall. Her vision turned red. The disgust made her vomit. It was caused by the truth forced upon her by when her memories were linked to Ruri Mikado's during the owl contact experiment. She had lost control of her body more than a few times now. After all, that was what she was. She was an imitation created by the Pygmalion, the Ascension nanomachine drug created from the plant, otherwise known as Ruri Mikado. She was the prime material that could reach the pinnacle they called King Lear, and as such she couldn't escape the influence of the original. That was why it was obvious what Saku Otanashi did while Ruri Mikado was in control of her. Ruri was unable to move, so she used Saku's body. There were many limitations, so she couldn't use it freely, but her power over this tool was strong enough for her to achieve her objective. To Ruri, her many poor imitations were akin to obnoxious flies, so the Sleeping Beauty crushed them as they were killing time. As though they were killing time. And her tool for this was Saku. She vomited. The red in her vision, as well as the feeling of gut still on her hands, made her remember the shape of the lives she snuffed out, which made her vomit over and over. She couldn't stop even when her stomach was rendered empty. Gosh, that's like the worst, once you've thrown up so much that nothing comes out and you just feel like, I don't know, you just almost like gag because you just like are trying to throw up, but there's nothing to throw up. I've definitely been that sick before, I'll say that. Ruri's memories were a trigger. The memories that she would have did her best to ignore had now overflowed and overwhelmed her. She reaped, she cut, she tore apart. Thoroughly, relentlessly, and in minute detail, she... Oh, she better not be doing onslaught syndrome or something. There was no balance or order in her dry laughter. Were the things on her cheeks tears or fragments of her sanity? Her heart ached, her reason was already shattered. How blissful it would be to lose her heart as well, to throw it all away and escape into a mad sleep. No such salvation came. She couldn't run, and the hellish memories continued attacking her, not letting go for a moment. She wanted to use her power to protect, and she believed that this time she would be able to. It was all wrong from the start. She'd made a deal with the devil, and she had to pay the price at the worst possible time. Her shivering legs couldn't take a single step further anymore when she thought that. A greeting that didn't suit the situation at all brought her back to reality. Yep, those are legs. With tears in her eyes from having just vomited, she looked up the hallway ahead. There was Mitori, standing like a cold goddess of the moon. The familiar, vivid school uniform now looked as dreadful as the Reaper's gown. Her close friend walked up to her with the same smile she always did, which only made Saku more terrified. She felt like she was about to be judged for her sin.
Narita Shinriと帝瑠璃が来ますわ。おとなしさく。じっとしている暇はありません。さあ、お立ちになって。
I find it interesting that everyone that like knew him as Shinri Narita just still calls him that. Like, I wonder if they even know like what his real name is. I mean, not that there's any problem. I mean, they knew him as Shinri Narita for the longest time, so it makes sense that they would call him that. But you know, you would think after you realized who he was, you would just kind of lump him in with Ruri. Slowly shaking her head, Saku backed away. Mitori, still smiling, said something that brought Saku more despair than ever before.
帝瑠璃に支配権限を奪われていたことですか？どうしてそれを？ええ、知っておりますわよ。見ましたもの。接触実験にはエトワール級の HMI は残らず巻き込まれました。私たちもあなたや瑠璃の記憶に触れました。これまで何があったのか、何をなさっていたのか。
Yeah, I mean, Saku literally was being controlled. I don't blame her in the slightest. for anything she did. I mean, it wasn't her fault. With a face like she was about to break down, Saku vomited yet again. Her stomach was empty, but that was about all she could do. Murray Mikado used Saku Otonashi to read countless fakes. These hands that were meant to protect were stained with so much blood and death that it drove her insane.
さあ、お立ちください。
However, Mitori didn't seem to care.
あなたはクラウン、その筆頭。己がどんなざまだろうと、先頭に立たねばならない。あなたの後ろに人は続くのだから。人には明かりが必要です。あなたが折れれば、続く者も折れる。無理言わないで!
She screamed. It was a voice of resignation, of rough rejection. If Mitori knew all that she did, she would have also known full well that Saku shouldn't be able to do something like that again.
もう嫌! どこへも行けるわけないでしょ!
An explosion of unfocused emotion. A moment later. What the frick? Did Mitori just do onslaught syndrome? Like, is she going crazy? The school building became distorted. Without sound or light, invisible thread sliced this ferroconcrete tone? I don't even know what that is. Both the concrete and the iron reinforcement were cut like light jelly. The smoothness made Saku gasp. She had no idea that Mitori had such power. Of course she didn't. This wasn't a power Mitori had, but the one she acquired, the Halo Superior she brought back from beyond the veil. They said that the slashes of a master were so fast that wounds were opened only after they were cut. Saku's chest was cut diagonally with a line so straight that not even the greatest blades could mimic it. Mitori was serious. She actually intended to kill Saku. If Saku had taken a step back upon seeing Mitori's terrifying gaze, she would have been sliced along with the building. But wait, why did she suddenly get onslaught syndrome? What the heck? We were just having a nice conversation here. The cut sliced an artery, making her bleed so much that there was a stain not just on her clothes but on the floor as well. The searing heat finally made her realize that she was actually cut, making Saku lose her words. After all, it meant that both her subconscious counter halo as well as the stagnation field that she reflexively created were cut through like butter. There's no way to break through the two layers of King Lear 3's defense, but that was only true if physical laws applied. Mitori was able to reach the result of severance by precisely controlling the border between her personal territory and normal space. This was akin to cutting a picture along the paper it was drawn on. No matter how strong the armor in the third dimension, it was meaningless against this. In the offensive defense that negated all halos that tried to influence Saku was unable to keep up with Mitori. In terms of processing power, her Halo Superior was the same tier as King Lear 3. Well, dang. That's not good. The armor that always protected Saku was broken. She touched the blood on her chest and the heat brought back her memory. The pain that she had distanced herself from after her halo awakened had now returned. That was why she was, as she was now, was basically what she was back then, a powerless girl overcome by fear. The wound was deep, her pulse was growing weaker by the second. The red puddle below showed her growing weaker. Losing more will than heat or strength, Saku looked up at Mitori, unable to stand. She wrung out a breath-like voice, not even if she could tell if she was resentful because Mitori tried to kill her. Perhaps this was how victims felt before she killed them. Mitori's eyes were as cold as ice, as she said. She opened the fan in her right hand. This time she would give her all to finish Saku off once and for all. They knew each other well enough to know that. Mitori's personal territory threads, her superior power, were akin to a heat haze, impossible to receive for all but those who it touched. They surrounded Saku like appendages of a living creature. Mitori's surroundings warped as though put through a lens. At first, Saku thought that was because she was bleeding, but that wasn't it. There was no way she could know it, but this was caused by an air concentration difference due to the same thing Mitori used against Soriko, the concentrated nitrogen projectiles. 2, 4, 6, 12, 24. In exchange for making them smaller, she was able to create more. This made it impossible for Saku to run. There was already enough power here to obliterate the school building's floor, yet she kept on adding more. Mitori's halo-controlled phenomena at the molecular level is a miraculous power akin to Maxwell's demon. This peak that she reached by contacting the owl was an unavoidable limit that had been thrust before her. It was a power that excelled at controlling what already existed. It could turn 1 into 3, or 5, but never take the first step of turning 0 into 1. The world was in her hands, and she was unable to discover anything beyond it. Only those who were capable enough could channel recklessness to turn the unknown into known. Mitori wasn't ashamed of this, however. It was merely a matter of how she was and whether she had the aptitude. After all, people couldn't live on nothing but dreams of
けれ
tomorrow.
ど今日に明日の礎たるというのなら、明日にそれだけの価値があると信じさせてくれなければ甲斐がありませんわ。立てないならいっそこの場で終わってしまいなさい。あとは私が引き受けましょう。
She closed the fan, but then without any hesitation, she unleashed the final, strongest attack. Well, okay then. I mean, I wasn't expecting Mitori to go crazy. I thought she was trying to work with Saku, but apparently not. The metal wings of 3 raptors cut through the night. Ero Takazaki stuck to the glass wall of a higher floor in the school building and looked up at the helicopters without any identification signs. Her eyes were as devoid of emotion as glass. These were the very same units that the Crowns used to fight Sliders, and the fact that they would now be used against the Academy made her feel nothing.
玉尾、そこにいるんですね。
Was it instinct, or was it because of her now augmented halo? Regardless, she sensed the presence of her fellow Crown among the choppers coming towards here. Saku should be waking up soon. Normally King Lear 3's offensive defense would prevent all halo influence, but Arrow now had a superior power that could break through it. You know, apparently everyone can just get past King Lear 3. Everyone's just stronger than her now. At least they can use stuff that goes beyond her power. It's kind of crazy. Not sure how I feel about that as far as, like, I feel like her King Lear was supposed to be, like, this unstoppable thing, and they've kind of broken that quite a few times. That's why, considering her programming, several decisions of hers were strange. She'd broken the shell Saku had locked herself in, and she was now standing right here. Normally Arrow would have been right there with Saku the moment she woke up, but there was no need for her to focus on protecting the Academy. Yet, why did she...
ヤンキーめ、クラウンの分際でなんて言いませんよ。エルは人形、怒りも悔しさもあるわけはないんだから。セット。
Shaking off the discomforting discomposure, Arrow faced the
If
raptors.
we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have. But slumbered here, where its visions did appear. Type a midsummer night's dream sperial. Run!
Alright. Certainly living up to the superior intellectia part of this. I'll say that. Everyone's using superior abilities. She then spoke a word to the birds that should have never been able to hear her.
愛してあげます。
What happened next was nothing but abnormal.
愛だ俺たちは愛し合うべきなんだ
Gosh. So, if y'all have ever played Destroy All Humans, I believe it was the second game. Right? Was it the second one? Crypto had this ability to, like, make everyone around him just, like, dance and stuff and, like, love each other, right? That's just what I'm imagining is happening right now. The chopper on the right, the one closest to the Academy, underwent a change. The boarding hatch opened up and guns were stuck through them when they began firing at the other 2 helicopters. That's not showing love. What do you mean?
撃ってきやがった。ネルに落とされやがったか。ここまで始末が悪くなってやがんのかよ。
Tamao and Narita were in the 3rd chopper, watching what was happening from behind. Tamao couldn't help but click her tongue at Era's oppressiveness and troublesomeness. Some big words. Era's halo had controlled over the concept of love. The people on the 1st chopper, from the pilot to the assault troops, were captured by Arrow and became knights fighting to protect Love, in this case, Arrow herself. It was fortunate that it was a police helicopter and thus didn't have much firepower, otherwise the damage would have been irreversible. It was understandable why Arrow Takazaki stood to defend this place by herself. She was a cancer cell that could bring down entire armies by herself. She alone turned the academy into an impenetrable fortress.
私はここで途中下車しよう。
And then there's Narita. Narita's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna jump out of this helicopter. Why not? Let's do it. Strong winds entered the chopper the moment Narita opened the hatch. Whilst the other chopper chased this one, he prepared to get off on the school building's roof.
飛び降りるってのか？てめえの頭の悪さも大概だな。
I don't know, man. You just gotta use like some parkour technique as you land, right? Just get rid of the force of the landing, and you'll be fine.
上空は L の支配権だ。とどまったところで同士討ち。夜店時のへたどり着くにはどの道突破しなければ。ならば必要なことをするだけだ。
I mean, Narita's probably strong enough to go off on his own, that's for sure. This was always how Shinri Narita operated. He went towards his destined horizon, never stopping for a second. That was why he jumped. He flew into the night sky, holding a deployment wire in his left hand, and with no parachute, he jumped out of a chopper flying at over 100 kilometers per hour. Well, okay then. The speed of the fall was such that his leather glove suffered due to the friction. When close to the roof, he let go, and upon falling, he rolled, distributing the impact that would have killed anyone else 3 times over. Huh. What did I say, guys? I said he was going to do some kind of parkour thing, and it was going to, you know, get rid of the... I don't know, whatever. Distributing the impact. I knew that's what he's going to do. I was like, I know Narita by this point. With beast-like movements, he stood up and sharpened his senses. All of this happened in but a moment, until once he realized that no one was here, he rushed to the staircase leading inside. The direct school building was as silent as Tartarus itself. Tokino Yomase was likely in the well-guarded underground facility. Examining the surroundings for the presence of people, I carefully made my way forward. I wasn't sure exactly what was going on, but the academy outside the building was in a terrible state. The fallen helicopter was burning, and there was an explosion-like sounds and vibration coming from all around. The building that had caught fire was now a giant torch, lighting red the smoke rising into the night sky.
悪道無法にはふさわしい地獄絵図。この紅蓮の花を夜店時のお前の野望の墓標としよう。
Hey, you know, I'm just glad it's Ruri, like, not doing that this time.
私たちの業界ではそれは死亡フラグというのです。
Not hiding her light footsteps at all, someone came upon this night's stage.
出迎え痛み入るというべきかな。
Her bright hair swayed, creating a contrast against the red-tinted sky outside. Ero Takazaki, the final rampart protecting the
や
academy.
っぱお前は最悪でしたね、成田真理。お台所の G と同じで最初に甘い顔したのが失敗でした。臭い匂いと害虫は元から立たないとダメです。
Well, that's a little bit rude, but okay.
まあ、この場で終わりですけどね。なぜなら、あなたはどこにも行けない。あなたの行き場はどこにもない。
The chopper above retreated to make distance from Arrow, but would that be enough? Would I actually be able to buy time as I wanted?
でも、どうして足止めを買って出るような真似を？時の先生が狙いなら、連中を盾に使う方が望みを果たせるでしょ？
Well, I feel like unlike the academy, Narita's not just out here to just let people die in pursuit of his goal. I mean, he'll kill the people that really wronged him, but he's not out there to just kill anybody else. Which he did try to do, actually.
彼らには今夜の足を務めてもらった義理がある。君たちにはクラスメイトとしての借りがある。己を通すためであろうと、私は君たちを偽ったのだ。ならば、最後までこの手で相手をするのが筋だろう。
相変わらず身勝手な理屈でよくしゃべるわからんちんです。
Hey, you
一
know,
つ思い違いを訂正しておきましょう。
Arrow, I'm not gonna take that from you. Self-serving weirdo? You're the most self-serving weirdo that I know. Oh, what the heck? She blinded me. Can't see. Arrow took a step forward. With that, she began overtaking the mindscape with the power that rewrote wills. My legs were as immobile as roots. My consciousness was intact, but her influence was already affecting and controlling my body. I couldn't even back away.
成田じゃ勝てませんよ。だって成田がしたいのは復讐なんでしょ。それって愛していたということじゃないんですか。
I mean, to be fair, we already kind of have Ruri. I cherished, I loved, but my love was taken from me by the cold reality. This truth brought out immense anger and hatred. If hate was just the other side of love, then Eru's halo had immense power over someone who was full of hatred.
そんなものがエルに勝てるわけはないでしょ。
Well, I hate to tell you, Narita has his own superior abilities, his own King Lear. My mind was being overwhelmed. She wasn't influencing, she was overtaking it. In terms of compatibility, she was worse than Saku for me. As long as Narita was himself, he was powerless against Eru.
死んでください。
No.
承知した。
Okay, never mind. Narita just agrees with it. The casual whisper controlled my nerves and muscles. I smoothly took out the gun of the holster on my waist behind me and put it against my jaw. A moment later, a gunshot.
目を離している隙に持ち芸が増えたんですか。手品師に転職するといいです。
Please tell me he was just trolling her. I was ahead of her at first, but now I was breathing raggedly behind her. During the time after the firing, before it reached my skin, I slowed down time and escaped the suicide. The speed was such that Eru couldn't see me. However, the situation didn't change at all, and it was even worse, in fact. My right hand wanted to try killing me again for the sake of this girl I loved. Only my left hand was desperately keeping it from doing so.
まさかここまでの支配力とは。上空のヘリも3機まとめて叩き落とせただろうに。ずいぶんと優しいのだね、エル。
そうですね。ここは悪役らしく、逃げる虫けらがどこまであがけるか試してみるということで。
似合わない真似はやめとけよ。
Faster than Eru could turn around, the fingers that were silently swung down cut off a branch of her silver hair. Eru took distance with surprising agility for her. In her place, there was...
どういう風の吹き回しかね。私を助ける義理はないと思ったが。
Tamao. She looked at me with a cynical scowl that didn't suit her. Thank you, Tamao. I'm glad you're saving me. Tamao had stood in between Narita and Eru. She stood there in this dark, burning, exploding academy as casually as one would walk around in their own home.
どういう風の吹き回しかね。私を助ける義理はないと思ったが。
I mean, if she was really walking around casually as she would in her own home, don't you think she'd be naked? I mean, that's what I'd be doing. Like, who wears clothes in their own house, right? What made you do this? You didn't have to help me, did you?
助けた？この後に及んでとんだギャグだな。お前が言ったんだろ？目的を果たすには、こいつを何とかしなくちゃいけない。
I mean, I don't think we need to kill Eru. Eru's still our friend, even if she's, like, trying to kill me. Moving her bangs to the side as though annoyed, she faced the enemy. If she could call her that anyways, though Tamao Akihito was hiding her true identity. Eru Takazaki was someone they spent years together as members of the academy. I'm really curious how Tamao ended up trying to hide her identity, because if the Akihito name is that, like, well known as a family of killers, wouldn't that kind of give her away? Just a little bit?
それはそれとして、飼い犬にだって手綱を切って闇雲に走り出したくなる夜があるのさ。どっかのバカが映ったのかもな。
Yeah, frick. Taigi. Yeah, Taigi is pretty stupid, huh? You must have caught it from him.
こいつは俺の獲物だ。お前にはやらせない。邪魔をするならぶちのめすぜ。
Okay, I mean, just don't kill her. You can stop her. That's fine. But, I doubt it'll happen. The will in charge of Narita's right half, Eru's halo, had vanished.
わかったとも。ここは玉緒の舞台。早くは早々に退散するとしよう。
I don't know, Narita. I think you're anything but a side character. Checking the movement of his right hand to confirm that it was his again, Shinju Narita realized that he was interrupting something special and had excused himself. Instead of watching how it played out, he made an exaggerated bow and ran off into the darkness.
たく、最後まで大げさな野郎だ。
玉緒。
Tamao. I love the way she just said that. With the nuisance gone, Eru called out to her old friend.
エル、知ってるか？ ただいま絶賛世界の危機らしいぜ。
I mean, Arrow doesn't give a crap.
ちょい古深夜アニメの見過ぎですね。今時ラノベでも世界の危機なんてザラにはないですよ。
Yes, but visual novels do.
ま、その手の派手な舞台は俺の持ち場じゃない。見せ場はバカに譲って、俺はバカのわがままを通してやるのさ。あいつが戻ってきた時、貸し借りなしにできるようにな。
はい。クラウン一番の小物が最終決戦に乗じて3番目の L を暴殺してのし上がろうと言うんですね。
ちょっと待て、そんなことは言ってないし、俺は一番の小物じゃない。
Yep, Tamao is just trying to climb the ranks, huh?
野心家の四天王4番目とか定番すぎて開いた口が塞がりません。狙うにしても1番や2番は怖いからまず3番目とか超耳っちくてブーザマ。
You're funny, Arrow. You're hilarious.
ってめえ話を聞けよ。だいたいクラウンは4人じゃなくて5人だろ。
惑わされおってこの完璧失格者が。愛で動く宇宙戦艦のように無敵の L がクラウン10の掟にのっとって裏切り者にしよう。
そんな掟どこにもなかったろ。
As Arrow stood there calm, Tamao charged towards her. Ah, these two. So funny. Okay, then. Ishia drove a van through the closed gate. Alright, so it is kind of late when I'm recording this, and I want to be more awake for when I do this full ending, so I am going to split this episode up. I will hopefully have the next part up very soon. Like, I'm not going to make you guys wait like another few days, but I think I am going to split this up just so I can really have all the time to focus on this ending, because I want to be awake for it. It's past midnight right now, and I'm like, I probably still have like a few more hours to go. So yeah, I'm just gonna end it here. But I'm very excited for what's going on right now. I'm very excited for the ending, because it seems like Ruri's like changing as a person, and then we got all the other like crowns just like kind of battling it out with each other. Like I think it was which comment did I get? It was the comment about being a battle royale, like kind of feeling like everyone's just kind of fighting against each other. I'm like, yeah, I can see that now. It definitely does feel like that in this ending. It's very interesting, the true route, I'll say that. I am liking a lot of it so far. I mean, we'll see through the end if anything changes, but I'm actually really liking this compared to Saku's route. I do like this better so far, which is something I didn't think I would say. But anyways, guys, I will be seeing you in the next episode. The next episode will be the final episode. And then I, of course, still have to do some of the bad endings from the common route and the Parachuman shows. So I'll definitely do those. But next episode will be the final episode of, like, the main game. So it'll be good. And I'm probably going to record that tomorrow when I'm a little more awake. I think that would be a good idea. So I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next episode.